Welcome everybody, my name is Freddie Bennett and welcome to another micro masterclass. Today is all about motivation and we're going to be talking about the Goldilocks rule. Now motivation is a funny thing. We've all been in positions in our life where we wish we had a little bit more motivation, and this might be at work on a Monday morning, it might be at home on a Sunday night, it might be when we want to go to the gym, it might be when we want to do that thing that we know we really should be doing, but we can't just get ourselves off the couch to make it happen. As we advance in our careers, especially in the accounting industry, when people get more responsibility, when they take on leadership roles, when they start to potentially have their own accounting practice, then motivation takes a twist, because not only do we have to motivate ourselves, but we have to motivate other people. And here's when the motivation myth occurs, because motivating our teams, our clients, and ourselves is bloody hard. It sounds so easy. It's such a simple, straightforward, innocent word, motivation. But when you actually start to try and implement it, it can be a lot more complicated. There's different ways we can motivate people. Do you do push versus pull? Do you try and push your team up a hill? Or do you go to the top of the mountain and try and encourage them upwards? Do you use carrot or do you use stick? So that's, do you use reward against, do you use, threats, quite honestly. Wouldn't recommend that one, but that's carrot versus stick. Then there's failure versus learning. Now, obviously, sometimes in life we have to fail because that is a great learning experience. But if we fail too much, if we set people up to fail, then they're not going to be motivated. And then there's confidence versus risk. So how much confidence do you encourage in people? How much risk do you encourage them to take? I mean, you only have to look at any financial crisis in the last 50 years to understand that too much confidence can be a very risky thing. And if we keep taking unnecessary risks and if we keep failing, this then also can damage our motivation. Because here's what happens if you get it wrong. The train can somewhat derail, metaphorically, both for you, your colleagues, and your firm. In the worst case, you see exits. So if people are just so low on motivation, they'll leave. Simple as that. This may be your colleagues, it may be your clients deciding to go and get their accounting and advisory expertise elsewhere, or in the worst case scenario, you decide that you have to exit because you've just had enough. You've got zero motivation. Even if you don't end up exiting the business, you can still suffer from burnout. And that's when we just do not have the motivation, the structure, the guidance, the support, the encouragement to do what we need to do. When it means we don't feel supported, we're not sleeping, we're not looking after ourselves. That's when burnout occurs. Believe me, I should know. When we suffer from burnout, then we can see things like increased absence from work. And then if people start being off absent or off sick or long-term sick, this then means that the other members of the team have to be doing more, have to be picking up more of the work, which means their motivation can be damaged as well. Confidence is such a big aspect as well, because if we lacking in motivation, if you look up above, if we're getting too much push, if we're getting too much stick, if we're failing too much, if we're getting burnt from all these risks that we're taking, this is naturally going to damage our confidence. If we're low on confidence, then we don't back ourselves, then we start making silly errors, then we start to see all the mistakes coming through, which leads to more rework, potentially write-offs, and that means extra effort for everyone. And also, if we don't have motivation, then life ain't very fun. We have the other M word, which is misery. We don't enjoy going to work. We don't enjoy doing our work. We dread Sunday nights because we get the Sunday night feeling, and that's not what we want. We want to create an amazing, wonderful, empowering environment that gives people the motivation to live the life they want to live, both at work and at home. But it's such a balancing act. How much is too much? That's the key question. How do I get the most out of someone without challenging them too much? Here's the thing, maximum motivation occurs when we face challenges that are of manageable difficulty. This is at the midpoint between boredom and failure. We want to create the ingredients, we want to create the environment where people can achieve amazing things, where they can get great results, and we can fuel them up to shine brightly, but without burning out. Shining brightly is the most powerful thing to happen through motivation. But as we know, with anything that shines too brightly, it catches fire, it burns out, and then the whole bloody house burns down. And that is something we do not want. I wanted to emphasize this with what they call the Goldilocks rule. As we see, maximum motivation occurs when one faces a challenge of just manageable difficulty, that midpoint between boredom and failure. So let's describe what's going on here. If you look at the horizontal dashed line, everything above that line, that's where the motivation happens. We see here on the y-axis motivation, you want to be above the midpoint. So that's where the good stuff happens. If you look at the standard bell curve, anything down the bottom on the left-hand side, x-axis is all about difficulty. If things aren't difficult, if things are too easy, if life, role, tasks, job, client work, whatever it is, if it isn't difficult enough, this leads to boredom. No motivation happens there. On the other end of the axis, down towards the other side of the bell curve on the right-hand side, if things are too difficult, then we keep on failing again and again and again and again. And as we know, with any task, with any activity, if we keep failing at something, then we end up losing motivation. It doesn't matter how good a leader you are, what environment you create. If someone is doing something too difficult, then they're always going to lose motivation. My oldest boy loves playing basketball. If I put him in the NBA for a season, I'm sure pretty soon he would lose his motivation for basketball. So if we look above the horizontal line, here we have the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Not too difficult, just right. This is the Goldilocks zone where all the magic happens. This is when we have the perfect levels of motivation because we are challenged, but we can always feel that this challenge can be conquered. It feels like we are making progress, that what we seek is within our reach. So that's your job in your role, in your business, in your client interactions. Focus on getting into the Goldilocks zone. And here's a twist as well. We're talking about you and we're talking about the accounting industry, but also this applies to your clients. So just please consider if you're asking your client to do something, either to gather information or to do pre-work or whatever it is, you don't want to give them jobs that are too easy because they'll just get bored and they won't bother. You also don't want them to do really difficult financial analysis because they'll just say, I'm not doing that, and they'll just fail and they won't have any motivation to partner with you in this sense. So please also bear that in mind. When we can work in the Goldilocks zone, this is when motivation occurs and awesome stuff happens. Productivity increases, accuracy improves, morale goes through the roof, people's confidence improves, heads are held high, people are strutting around the office, or maybe not, but you know what I mean. Write-offs and rework reduces, and people have more fun. That's an amazingly powerful mix when people are motivated, when they want to perform, when they want to be challenged, when they want to do their best, when they want to make things happen. And I truly believe this. All accountants want to make change happen. All accountants want to make a difference. All accountants want to feel like they are making a difference. And if they can feel like they are making a difference, then they have the motivation to succeed. But, there's always a but, there is a twist to the tale here. Just as Goldilocks says, we don't want it to be hard, we don't want it to be too easy, we want it to be just right. But here's the thing, everyone has a different Goldilocks zone. What is hard for one person might be easy for another person. We all have different talents, different strengths, and so on. And that's why we need to test and experiment in a safe environment, I hasten to add, to discover it. And also, people's Goldilocks zones may shift due to external factors. Someone might have something going on at home. They might be recovering from illness. They might just be tired because they've got a new baby. There might be something going on in the economy. There might be something happening totally outside your control, which means someone needs a little bit more motivation and they need to shift their Goldilocks zone as opposed to normal. And also, the truth is that people lie about their Goldilocks zones. They say, I don't need motivation to do my work, or just give me more hard work. I love to be challenged, because this is all about our ego. So many factors of what we talk about in all of these masterclasses always comes back to ego. But people do lie about how easy or difficult things are. So we need to understand, learn, test, and experiment to find everyone's Goldilocks zone. And sometimes we need to face the outer limits. It's all very well talking about not giving people boring work or not giving people work that's too difficult. But the truth is, sometimes the boring work must be done. Sometimes the difficult work must be faced. Well, what do you do in those cases? Because let's face it, real life does happen. In those moments when we have to go outside of that Goldilocks zone, we need a clear and compelling vision to work towards. We've all got a desire to move away from the painful status quo. We all live on our hell island when we want to make a change happen. Hell island is a concept I talk about a lot. In many cases, we live on hell island. We want to get to heaven island. That's the outcomes we want to achieve. But it's only when we face discomfort, it's only when we have to work outside of our Goldilocks zone, then we need that vision, we need that goal. We need to understand that even though things are difficult at the moment, even though we're facing this discomfort, we need to keep taking those steps forward to find our own version of Heaven Island. And that's why motivation alone is not enough. We need to be working towards a compelling vision of the future. The hard work needs to be worth the effort. So let's cover things off in a quick summary. To get your colleagues, your clients, and yourself in the Goldilocks zone is the most important thing. Where does the Goldilocks zone exist? Well, it's between boredom and failure. Our Goldilocks zones can shift, so be prepared to adjust accordingly. And as a reminder, motivation can be hard. Motivation alone is not enough to achieve our goals. And that's why we need a vision and to remember why we started this journey in the first place. Thank you so much for watching. If you're loving this, please like, please subscribe, please share, make it count with the accounting world and beyond. And if you go to accountantsbecounted.com, you can get your book for free. Understand how to be counted, learn the 10 myths that are holding back your accounting career, and the truth that will set you free. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Don't forget to make it count.